It looked like the Green Party negotiators got their way when the programme for government included a commitment to withdraw government support for the project at EU level, as well as coming down against the importation of fracked gas. However, today's Kerry's Eye newspaper is reporting that despite this, the Shannon LNG project is still going ahead. And it says that none other than the Fianna Fáil spokesman on finance, Michael McGrath, has reopened the door to the project. So I'm joined by Katie Hannon now to shed more light on this. Katie, is this the first programme for government promise that has been broken? And how is this going to impact on the Green Party members who are today at their convention and this week weighing up whether or not they're going to support the programme for government?
Well, Mary, if it were the case that Michael McGrath was telling the media in Kerry that commitments in the programme for government were not worth the paper they were written on, this would indeed likely have a huge impact on how Green Party members viewed the programme for government. But Michael McGrath has told me this afternoon that this is not at all what he said.
So what is going on, Katie?
Indeed, and just to recap, Mary, Green Party members wanted to stop the Shannon LNG project, not just because of concerns about what the development might do to the estuary region, but because it would bring fracked gas into the Irish energy mix. Green Party negotiators demanded and got very specific language inserted into the programme for government to this end, and the final document that's being looked at today by Green Party members says, "We do not believe that it makes sense to develop LNG gas import terminals importing fracked gas. Accordingly, we shall withdraw the Shannon LNG terminal from the EU Projects of Common Interest list in 2021. And it goes on to say we do not support the importation of fracked gas and shall develop a policy statement to establish that approach.
So are those commitments then enough to scupper the Shannon LNG project?
Well, campaigners against the project were delighted with this language. Being withdrawn from the list of EU projects of common interest means that it could no longer avail of various supports at European level. It would no longer be entitled, for instance, to a fast-tracked planning process. And the statement against the importation of fracked gas was also warmly welcomed. On the other side of it, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil representatives in Kerry, who had been very supportive of the project, were naturally very upset by this concession given by their TDs. At the moment, just 3 of the party's county councillors are backing the deal, and the rest of them are either undecided or are coming down against it, and those that are coming down against it are citing the LNG issue for their position.
So then are they delighted to see this report in today's Kerry's Eye newspaper?
Well, indeed, Mary, under the headline, Shannon LNG project still going ahead, Kerry's Eye is reporting today that the US investment fund behind the project, that's Fortress Energy, now not only plans to go ahead with the project, but is now going to build a giant data centre beside it in Ballylongford. Kerry's Eye reporter Aidan O'Connor quotes sources close to New Fortress Energy as saying that the EU status is immaterial to the project and that it doesn't believe that the government can stop a project that is already going through an independent process. The story is accompanied by a big photo of Fianna Fáil frontbencher Michael McGrath, who of course was one of his party's negotiators for the programme for government. And he is quoted as saying that a government could not stop a specific project going through a process, and that Fortress Energy should take legal advice on the implications of the programme for government. Kerry's Eye suggested that these comments meant that Michael McGrath had reopened the door to the project.
So you've been speaking to him. What does Michael McGrath have to say about this?
He says this was a misinterpretation of what he actually said. He said the programme for government speaks for itself. Directly, he said, if any further planning application is made for a facility that would import fracked gas, you would expect on board Planola to have regard to government policy, this new government policy as stated in the programme for government. And Mary, this is important because Shannon LNG is likely to require revised planning permission because of a European Court of Justice ruling, which is due in September. But then I put it to Michael McGrath that his comments might be perceived as leaving the door open to the project going ahead. He said he wanted to be clear that he did not reopen any door, that he fully stands over what's in the programme for government. He said the commitments in the programme for government have major implications for the future of the Shannon LNG project. And he said he understands that this is a very difficult issue for Fianna Fáil representatives locally, but he said we have to tell the truth. And he said he didn't shirk from that last night in a Zoom meeting to brief Fianna Fáil colleagues in the Kerry constituency.
So just to wrap this, Katie, where does it leave us?
Well, I spoke to campaigners against the project again today, and they are still convinced that what's in that programme for government will put a stop to it. Or I should say would, of course, because that document has yet to be approved. And of course, Mayor, if you listen to the reports coming out of today's Green Party conference, that's something that can't be taken for granted at this stage.
All right, Katie Hannon, thank you.